you know, I've cooked this most magnificent meal. A wonderful meal for two. Very elegant. It's the kind of thing that if you want to showboat, this is the perfect dish for it, because it does take on that elegant quality. It has all the right products there. But at the same time, it doesn't beat you up. It's not hard to make. I had this whole thing done in about 35 minutes, including the prep. All right, so it didn't take me long. Do me a favor, take a look at some point in the description box. You're going to see some links there for Wildgrain. That's a wonderful bread, sourdough breads, pastas, and pastries. Check that out. It's incredible. Also, there's another one there for chef's temp thermometers. Everybody needs a good thermometer in the kitchen. Take a look at that. It's a reasonable price and it's a good thermometer. I'm not sponsored, but I do make a commission if you use those links. Thank you very much. Also, do me a favor. Click like, subscribe if you haven't done so. Click that bell and let's get on with this. I'm ready to eat. Howdy, welcome to my kitchen. I'm Stuart, this is Texas Cooking Today, and today I'm going to be making a wonderful pork tenderloin. I'm going to be doing this as a pan-seared tenderloin medallions. So we're going to cut them, we're going to pound them just very lightly, and then we're going to pan-sear those. Now with that, I want to be making a wonderful sauce. It's going to be what's called a beurre rouge. Actually, this one is beurre rosé. A beurre rouge is where you take red wine and butter and mix it with the pan drippings of whatever meat you cooked and make this beautiful steak sauce. And so we're going to be doing a beurre rosé today, which is a lighter wine, a little more fruity, and it's delicious. And so I'll be doing that with that. We're doing some asparagus and also a homemade wild rice pilaf, a really easy one to do. Now I've already cooked. Yeah, I've cooked the long grain wild, you know, that black rice. It takes a long time. I started it about 50 minutes ago and just let it sit there and simmer until it became tender and fully cooked. Now the rice I'll be putting it with cooks quickly. So anyway, let's take a look at the ingredients so we can get started making a very easy meal. Oh, and by the way, if you're thinking or trying to find a meal that would be good for an easy Valentine's meal, but something that's elegant, this is it. This is the right meal. Get a couple of bottles of like a nice rosé wine or a white Zinfandel, and then create this meal with it and have that in a wonderful moment. All right, so easy meal to do, easy weeknight meal, believe it or not. And you're going to be surprised. Come on over. So remember, I have set this up as an easy weeknight meal, and this is a meal for two people. So remember, my ingredients kind of reflect that. Now I used some asparagus here. We've got some pork tenderloin. This is some white Zinfandel wine. I've got some beef broth, some basmati rice, and it's really important that it be basmati on this one. Here I've got some that beautiful black wild long grain rice. That comes in a small box usually, in a little packet, and it's a wonderful addition to a rice dish like this. Now for my spices, I have some oregano and some mustard, paprika, some onion powder, garlic powder, and a bit of salt back here. And with these items and this beautiful beef broth, we create a wonderful, easy to do, homemade wild rice pilaf. So we're going to be doing that. And the asparagus will be pan-seared. This is going to be beautiful. All right, I've got everything ready to go here. Now, I have already pre-cooked this. Folks, all you need to do is take that long grain wild rice, put it in about 3/4 of a cup to a cup of water, and cook it for about 40 to 50 minutes. And boom, you've got your wild grain rice pre-cooked. Now, this is going to survive yet another 12 to 15 minute cooking, and it'll do just fine. It is beautiful flavor added to a wonderful dish. So pre-cook that. Remember, it takes that because it takes a long cook, where the basmati cooks just instantly. All right, so pork tenderloin. Need to get this guy a little cleaned up because, see down here we got this silver skin going on. I don't want that silver skin going on, so I'm going to get some of it out of there. All right? You got to watch out. This stuff will travel under the layers right here. You have a second layer, and it goes right up underneath that, so don't go tearing into that too much. You just kind of got to do what you can and move on, okay? This is why you want to have good sharp knives. It makes the job so much easier. This is where normally I would have my chef's knife out, but this one's good and sharp. It'll do the job quite easily. So let's do that. I'm going to cut these about 1.5 inches to 2 inches, okay? Now mine are about 2 inches because I like them nice and thick to start with. And then the one on the end here, I just let him be who and what he is. I let him lay out flat, okay? So the whole idea here is I run these end grain up and just gently press them, and you have these beautiful little pork chops, the most magnificent little pork chops you've ever seen. Yeah. Okay. And as you see, it's pork tenderloin. It doesn't take a lot of pressure to work this out. I'm just gently flattening them with my hand. Nothing more. So you don't have to skillet pound them or use a meat mallet or anything like that. Just gentle with the palm of your hand. So, very easy to do. Now, you notice I always wear gloves, and some people make fun of that. They say, gloves for cooking? What do you need that for? Here you go. You know, I washed my hands earlier and they're still clean. Okay, I need to get my meat seasoned up here. And this is very simple. Just a little bit of salt, a little bit of seasoned pepper, and a little bit of garlic powder. And just gently sprinkle each one with that. As far as the oil that we're going to cook in, take your pick, folks. You get your choice on this one. I'm going to be cooking these up in some olive oil. Sometimes I do this kind of cooking in peanut oil. Those are my two favorites. This is a wonderful seasoned pepper I've been enjoying my entire life, actually. My dad liked that stuff, and it was frequented on the grill. And so I learned that it's wonderful with meat products. Now our rice, I want to get this put together. Remember, we've already cooked that long grain rice, so what I have sitting here, just to show you, I can set aside. And that's how much that was, exactly right there. Okay, now I'm not going to put this in there yet. I want to bring the liquid to a boil. So I'm going to put my beef broth in here, and I'm going to go ahead and put my seasonings in there. So now we have something absolutely wonderful. But you know something? With this kind of dish, that umami flavor, oh, that's what we need. Just a little bit of it. And I'm just going to use a simple MSG here and the very lightest dusting right there. It takes so very little of that to do the perfect job. Okay? There we go. By the way, those packaged mixes, if you look at them, most of them, you'll see monosodium glutamate or the abbreviation MSG written on the package. That's because it makes it taste good. Okay, now I have the liquid for my rice back here with a flame underneath it. As soon as it comes to a boil, I'm going to put the rice in there. We're going to get it cooking. Now, so you'll know, basmati rice, make sure you're using that because of the flavor and the way it cooks. It has very little starch, so it's going to remain loose. All right, now you want to cook this 12 to 15 minutes. Keep an eye on it, but also keep it covered. At about the 12-minute mark, just open it, take a fork, pull back some of the rice. If you still see a little water on the bottom of the pan, give it a couple more minutes. If you don't, it's done. All right, that's all there is to basmati. Okay, now when it comes also to the asparagus is a quick cook. It's going to pan sear in about 6 to 8 minutes, but your pan needs to heat. All right, so boom, I got a heat going on, a flame going on right up underneath that pan, And this right here, these are going to take about 3 minutes per side to cook up real nice, maybe 4. All right, and that'll be pan seared. And I want that pan good and hot before the meat touches it, because I want that searing action. That's the only way you get it really well, guys. All right, so we preheat the pans before putting the oil in there, and you're going to see why. We put water in the pan. If the water skates around, it's good. Now, if you're wondering why I'm going through the extra details here, this is to be someone's Valentine's meal. Okay, that's the reason I made this. This is a meal for 2, kind of a romantic Valentine's thing. Easy to do, even if you don't know how to cook. You get to make someone that special meal, all right? You get to surprise them. And this is a way to do it with elegance, all right? That pan is huge and takes forever to heat. This one takes a little less time. They're both commercial pans, so they take a moment. So while those are heating, I'll just kind of do my thing, and as soon as I think they're hot, we'll test them, and if they are hot, the cooking begins, folks. All right? All right, it looks like the liquid from my rice has come up to a boil. There we go. Yep, I need to get the rice in here. Just pour that in, give it a good stir. There we go. Now, set your timer, and remember that right there, 12 to 15 minutes. Now what I'll do is I'll give it just a moment to come back to a boil. When it does return to a boil, I'm going to reduce the heat to a low so it simmers, and I'll also stir it one more time because it'll start firming up otherwise. So very simple. I'm waiting for these to get hot. Okay, I went ahead and set my timer for 12 minutes. We're up and running. Now, very simple. As soon as these other pans are hot enough to sear, then that means we're going to start cooking up some good food here. And folks, that's about testing it. And well, you'll see that in a minute. Alrighty, I think it's time for me to take a little water, just a bit of water in my hands. Okay, this one still needs some more time, but look at this. You see how it's just skating around in there? That's a mighty hot pan for that to happen. That's Leidenfrost effect. And so if you want to learn about that, look up that name, Leidenfrost, and you'll learn a great deal about water vapor barriers and high temperature. But folks, that is a signal to a chef that you've got a good temperature for searing, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and start this with just a little bit of olive oil. All right, get my pan coated. When you do it this way, your oil maintains better properties for lubrication, and it just works better. So do it. Just right there. All right, these get cooked, and in about 3 minutes, I'm going to flip them over and cook the other side. Now over here, we got this pan coming up in temperature. And it should be just about hot enough because of the way the water was acting just a moment ago. We know we were right on that edge. So there we are. And you don't want it much hotter because you'll smoke your oil. Don't do that. All right. Okay, everything is cooking beautifully. And so you will know. That's high heat. That's a high heat, actually medium high, and depends on your stove, all right? Some stoves are warmer than others. That's there. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Now I'm going to turn on my vent hood to get any extra smoke out of here. So pardon any noise from that. All right, we let it cook. Everything is going very smoothly. This is exactly the way it should look and feel like. So please enjoy that. This is a meal that takes less than 20 minutes to cook once the cooking begins. So I'm about 5 minutes in on the cook. You see some brown right there on that asparagus, don't you? Well, how about I put a little bit of salt in there, okay? And as I mentioned earlier, a very light dusting with some onion powder and garlic powder. It really sets this dish off. Even though that sounds simple, it really works. A little more olive oil and another toss. Now, those powders will generally cook very quickly. So, when you're doing this, don't leave that pan too hot. You can reduce that to a low heat as soon as you get those spices on there. We have to cook them very little. That is ready otherwise. All right, now the rice is coming along. The asparagus is finished. These have come to their conclusion. They've gotten a nice firm in the center, and that has been about 4 minutes on each side. So I'm going to take them, put them right back here in this pan. It's my auxiliary pan. And I want that meat to stay good and warm. Give it a cover. This is what we put our wine into. Wasn't that fun? That's what we call having a good time right there. I'll probably set off the smoke alarm in a minute. Now, as this comes to a boil, I want to have some butter ready to hit it. Have several pats of butter ready to go for making this beurre rosé. And that's what this is, it's beurre, the butter. And then the rosé, the color of the wine. And you want to whisk that butter in. And of course we're picking up all of the flavors off of those meat juices that caramelized. And that is just intense flavor, plain and simple. So I want to bring this right back up to a good high temperature. I want to boil this. And the reason we work it in a pat of butter at a time, what we're doing is we're emulsifying that butter into this liquid to make a beautiful sauce. And a big old pat. Let's take a look underneath the rice. Okay, there's still a little liquid there. I'm gonna let it keep cooking for a couple more minutes. And that's all right, we're busy making a sauce, right? The asparagus is holding fine. And you'll get kind of a somewhat caramely color when you do this. And you can use any kind of wine for this. If you use a red wine, you've made a beurre rosé. If you use a white wine, you've made a beurre blanc, okay? Very simple. And so far I've whisked in about a half a stick of butter. That would be roughly, what, quarter cup? I think, I don't remember. I'm terrible with that. I think I put in 4 tablespoons. There you go. And you know what? One more to grow on and I'm done with it. And that was a cup of wine and about a half a stick of butter, or maybe a little more. So that rice takes 15 minutes to cook. And since we are on time with this meal took about 15 minutes to cook, not including the prep. There is a little prep time there, plus the hour it takes to cook that wild rice. You know, there's a little bits there, but nothing that's real intense. So now we're down to plating this little guy up. It's a very simple thing to do. I'm going to recommend you have some tiny bowls to put a little bit of this into. I'm going to put some over the meat, yes, but it's going to get soaked into that rice. Well, let's be realistic about it. That's not real thick, okay? It's not gravy-like. It's just beautiful steak sauce. So what we're going to do, we're going to plate it up the right way with a little extra side bowl. The quantity of everything that I had today starts with 1 pork tenderloin. And folks, if you're wondering what size, it's just about a medium-sized pork tenderloin. I didn't weigh it or anything. I've got a pound of asparagus that has been cut up. I removed the woody stalks at the bottom, so altogether it's probably a little less than a pound. Right here, 1 cup white Zinfandel, 1 cup of beef broth. On my spices, this is a half a teaspoon each on all of these spices. Half a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of garlic, half a teaspoon of the onion powder, half a teaspoon of paprika, a half a teaspoon of the mustard, and a half a teaspoon of oregano. And with that, this is, remember, rice for two. This is a half a cup of basmati rice and 1/8 of a cup of long grain wild rice. Okay, so let's take a look at what this looks like after what we've done. And as you've seen, there's just not a lot of work here, is there? All right, now get this thing plated up. I'm looking forward to this, and it's hard to decide where to start. So I think I'm going to begin with some rice. And it's kind of like building a little display. Look at it that way. I'm trying to display and show off that food. Well, the way we get that kind of nice, like somebody gave a hoot so that it would come out right. Now, we need a couple of beautiful medallions. Looky there. Right there. And don't worry about any juice that came out of them, because you got this instead. This guy, simple enough. Okay, I'll set him right there on the plate with everything else. Get another spoonful and go right on top of that meat. Don't worry, there's no way you can go wrong with this one. The flavors present will override everything, and you'll find it incredible. And there it is right there, folks. That is what we've made today. A delicious dinner. All right, I have really been looking forward to this. You know, sometime back, I really kind of fell out of love with the pork tenderloin. And then one day I decided, you know, I need to experiment with this meat. It really holds too many wonderful opportunities. So I decided to teach myself wonderful dishes like this. That piece of meat is too big. I'm hungry, but come on. There we go. Delicious. Incredibly delicious. That's a wild rice pilaf. It's better than any package mix. When you taste it, you'll see what I mean. That's wicked. Folks, this is a great way to do a dinner. If you're looking for something fancy but easy for your Valentines, something you can pull off, this is it. I just showed you all the details. Okay? Enjoy that. Please do me a favor and subscribe to this channel. Click the bell so you get notifications when I put out new stuff. And also, click the like button on this if you enjoyed this recipe. Do me a favor, drop a comment down below. I really enjoy those, and the links are in my description box. Folks, thank you very much, and please have a wonderful dinner. Bye-bye.